All right, good morning, guys. There's Unit 2, Lesson 4, solving absolute values with inequalities. Okay, so this is a lot like what we did yesterday. We're solving absolute values. Now the only difference is we're looking at inequalities. So we have, these less than or equal to, less than, greater than or equal to, or greater than symbols in between here. And so we have to take those into consideration and apply. The one rule with those is if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to switch the symbol. So this is going to affect us now because when we are solving our absolute values, we have to consider that one option is also negative. Okay, so let's look at number 1. We have 7 plus absolute value of 6v plus 7 less than or equal to 60. Okay, so I want to get my absolute value by itself. I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. That leaves me with absolute value of 6v plus 7 equals 60 minus 7 is going to be 53. Then I have, not equals, less than or equal to. Then I can consider 6v plus 7 being the positive value is less than or equal to 53, or the negative value of 6v plus 7 is less than or equal to 53. All right, so over here I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. I would still want to solve to get v by itself. So 53 minus 7 is what? 3, 4, 46? Is that right? Let's see, 53 minus 7, 46, yeah. And then I need to divide by 6. Sorry, I'm going to take my calculator out because I wanted to give this I want it to be a fraction, so I'm going to just simplify that to v is less than or equal to 23 over 3. Okay, so 46 divided by 6 is some decimal, 7.66 repeating, so that fraction is 23 over 3. So over on this side, I think I showed you guys yesterday where you can distribute this negative sign, but instead of distributing, I'm going to go ahead and divide that negative out. I'm going to divide by negative 1 because this is a negative 1 here. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 is just positive 1, so I'm just left with 6v plus 7. It's less than or equal to 53 divided by negative 1 is negative 53. And I need to apply my rule. So I divided by a negative number. I need to flip my symbol. The reason I went ahead and divided here is because I'm going to have to do it in a minute anyway. So I'm just going to not multiply as many times as I would have by distributing. I'm just going to save myself a step. Okay, so I can subtract 7. That leaves 6v is greater than or equal to negative 60. Divide by 6, and v is greater than or equal to negative 10. So there's my two solutions for number 1. All right, so then we have number 2. 9 times absolute value of 3n minus 2 plus 6 is greater than 51. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides first. That leaves me with 9 times 3n minus 2 absolute value. 51 minus 6 is 45. I'm going to divide by 9. So 3n minus 2 is greater than 45 divided by 9 is 5. I can add, whoa. I totally just messed up. Okay, I have absolute values here. So I need to solve two different problems. I need to solve the positive of 3n minus 2 and the negative of 3n minus 2. So here I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So I have 3n is greater than 7. Divide by 3. N is greater than 7/3. On this side, this time I'm going to distribute. I can do this either way. I can distribute or I can divide by negative 1. I'm going to go ahead and distribute this time. No rhyme or reason, just to show you that you can do it both ways. So I'm going to subtract 2. That leaves me with 3n is greater than 3. Sorry, negative 3n. Now I'm going to divide by negative 3. So that leaves me with n. I need to flip my symbol because I divided by negative. Negative 1 is less than negative 1. Okay, so these are my two solutions. So here on this problem, I distributed. I ended up not flipping my symbol till down here. Up here on this problem, I flipped my symbol at the beginning because I went ahead and divided that negative out. You can do this either way. It does not matter which way you do it. Okay, number 3. So number 3 is a different kind of problem. You looked at some problems yesterday where you're solving that had some quadratics in it, and I had somebody ask if we could work some examples like that today. So I wanted to go ahead and throw one in while we're solving inequalities, because you have some more on your assignment as well. Okay, so here I have my absolute value on one side by itself. So I don't need to add or subtract anything. I'm going to go ahead and split this off into two problems. I can take the positive value of x squared minus 3 is greater than negative x plus 3, or I can do negative x squared minus 3 is greater than negative x plus 3. So these are the two problems I need to solve. So on this side, I have this squared, I have a quadratic. That means I need to make this equal to 0 so that I can factor. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and move everything to one side. So over here, I'd end up with x squared plus x. I cannot combine these two terms because they are not like terms. They do not have the same exponent, so I cannot combine them. So I have x squared plus x. Negative 3 minus 3 is minus 6. It's greater than, over here I get 0. So now I have x squared plus x minus 6 is greater than 0. Well, I have my c value is negative 6. My b value is 1. So what two numbers multiply to give me 6, but add up to give me positive 1? Should have 3 and negative 2. So that means this factors to be, to be x plus 3 times x minus 2 is greater than 0. So now I can apply my zero product property. X plus 3 is greater than 0, or x minus 2 is greater than 0. So x is greater than negative 3, or x is greater than 2. Okay, so there's two of my solutions. Now I still need to solve this other problem over here. This time I'm going to go ahead and divide by that negative 1, because if I distribute this, it's going to give me a negative x squared, and that kind of makes it hard to factor. If I have a coefficient on x, it's easier if my coefficient of x is a positive 1. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by negative 1 on both sides. So that becomes x squared minus 3. I flip my symbol because I divided by a negative. Negative x divided by negative 1 is just positive x, and positive 3 divided by negative 1 is negative 3. So now I'm going to move everything to one side of the equation. This leaves me with x squared minus x. 3 plus 3 is 0. Over here I have 0, so it's less than 0. So now I need to factor this. Well, I don't have a c term to say this is the thing I'm multiplying to get, but my first question when I'm factoring is always, what is my GCF? So here, what's the greatest common factor? Well, I see an x in both pieces, so I'm going to go ahead and take an x out. That's going to leave me with x minus 1 is greater than 0. Now I'm multiplying two things together, and I have 0 on the other side, so that means I can apply my zero product property. That says x is going to be less than 0, or I have x minus 1 is going to be less than 0. So x is going to be less than 1, or x is going to be less than 0. These are my four solutions for this problem. Okay, so when we see this squared, we need to think back, okay, that means I have a quadratic. That means I need to factor. Well, if I factor, I have to have it set equal to 0 because I want to apply my zero product property at the end. It makes my life easier if it's set equal to 0. So first, get everything to one side. you need to apply your absolute value rule where we're splitting it off, and then zero product property. All right, so if you have any other questions, let me know. There are some homework problems to do on the assignment. So this is problems like 7 through 12 or something, 7 through 15 maybe. If y'all have any